This is WeatherScope.
Well, the severe weather is beginning to fade across much of the Northeast and New England, but soaking rains continue. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Resulton. We're also working on the forecast for your Thursday, but first, the very latest on the storms in the Northeast from Jeff Morrow in the Forecast Center.
Sharon, we're getting a lot of damage reports in now these are preliminary storm reports from New York City, out of Mount Holly, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Taunton, Massachusetts. They're all saying pretty much the same thing. A lot of gusty winds, a lot of trees being knocked down, a lot of power outages, and some flooding range too. In fact, I just got word here within the last hour or so, numerous roads were flooded in Fairfield County, Connecticut, in the town of Fairfield. Lots of street and small stream flooding going on in Scarsdale and Westchester County, New York. That's just north of New York City. So we got some pretty hefty rains, and farther south still some big thunderstorms. Let's show you the rain first of all. This is in Leominster, Massachusetts, northwest of Boston, and north of the Worcester area. These pictures taken a little bit earlier this afternoon as the big storms roamed in, but I got to tell you, it's been raining there ever since. Now, a lot of the thunder and lightning may be gone, but we're talking some heavy rains here, folks, and in just a little bit I'll be showing you some Doppler radar estimates of just how much rain has been falling in these areas. Now, we have a big lineup of rain here. Notice, if you will, that it's not moving eastward all that fast. It's kind of stuck. The reason for that is that we have an area of low pressure here, which is moving up along the front. That is basically holding this front in place here. There is some drier air punching in through the Great Lakes. A much nicer day today in Detroit, definitely than what you had last evening. Cleveland as well, the rain is all gone there. But we have a lot of low-level moisture pushing up from the south here into New England. And again, as it's focused along this slow-moving front, that is the recipe for some flooding rains. Now, we think the threat for severe weather, we're talking over 1 inch in diameter hail, wind gusts over 58 miles an hour. That is mainly here from central New Jersey on south through the Delmarva, the Chesapeake Bay area, particularly the central and southern Chesapeake, down toward eventually the tidewater of Virginia. Not so much in New England. Now, in that area, along the Chesapeake and on up into southern Jersey, including just about all of Delaware and the eastern shore of Maryland, there is a severe thunderstorm watch in effect. Now, there are also severe thunderstorm watches in effect farther west in Kansas and Arkansas. Sharon Resulton is going to be taking a look at those in just a little bit. But again, the threat for severe weather appears to be mainly in Virginia, into Maryland, eastern Maryland, Delaware, and southern New Jersey. But farther to the north, the threat now appears to be more flooding rains. And I want you to notice, first of all, here in Boston, the rain has never really truly gotten into the downtown area. It's definitely been in the northern and western suburbs, but anywhere from Boston on south, it's mainly dry. In fact, I can draw you a line pretty much like that. Notice how the rain is not moving to the east at all. It is moving over the same areas time after time from southwest to northeast, and particularly these areas back here in interior Massachusetts, northern and western Connecticut, southern areas of New Hampshire, and even up into Maine. There's a lot of water falling up here, folks, and that's why there are flood watches in effect. Those are the darker green shaded areas from southern New Hampshire into northern Connecticut. We can go to a Doppler radar estimate here, and what this radar is doing, it's estimating how much rain has fallen. The Doppler can look at the intensity of the rain.
Right now on the Weather Channel, your local forecast. Scope.
At this hour, the severe weather is beginning to fade across much of the Northeast, but the soaking rains continue. Hello, I'm Dave Schwartz. We're also working on the forecast for Thursday. But first, the latest on the severe weather from Jeff Morrow in the Forecast Center.
That's right, Dave. It looks like the severe weather threat, at least for New England, as far as really gusty winds and hail and lots of vivid lightning, appears to be greatly diminished. I don't know that we have a lot of severe weather threat there anymore. Farther south into the Chesapeake Bay area and over to the Delmarva Peninsula, that's a different story, and there still is a severe thunderstorm watch out there. Main threat in New England now, heavy rain. Let's take you to Leominster, Massachusetts, where the rain was coming down in buckets when these pictures were shot earlier in the day. Folks really had to slow it down, get the headlights on, and kind of take care there. These were just some ponding problems on some of the roadways, but I got to tell you, it's been raining there ever since, and we're still talking about some pretty nasty conditions here, folks, in the form of heavy rain across parts of southern New England. What we have going here is a front that has pretty much stalled out, and the reason it's stalled out is because a wave of low pressure is riding along that toward the northeast, and it's kind of hanging that front up over New England at the present time. Now on the southern end of it, that's where we still have a pretty good push. That is where we're still getting some gusty winds and the possibility of some hail. We'll talk more about that in a moment, and we'll be updating this map because there should be a low right there. And that is the wave of low pressure which is riding up along the front, and until that pretty much clears out of the way, this rain is going to continue across the southeast New England, and that's when the northwesterly and northerly winds will take over and finally blow this front off the coast. And as I mentioned, the severe weather threat really has lessened greatly over southern New England. The flooding threat has not lessened, but the severe weather threat as far as gusty winds and hail. But farther south, as I mentioned, anywhere, particularly from central and southern New Jersey down through Delaware and on into Virginia, that's where there's still a severe thunderstorm watch in effect. That is the only severe weather watch in the east now. Farther west in Kansas and in parts of Arkansas, other severe thunderstorm watches in effect, but we'll be taking care of those in the studio in just a moment with Dave Schwartz. But again, the flooding rains probably our biggest problem. Let's go into the northeast and show you a radar. And again, notice how the rain is moving from southwest to northeast. If I draw a line pretty much like that, notice that the rain just isn't crossing that line. It isn't getting any closer to Boston or the Cape or Providence, where it's been pretty much dry all day long. But it is moving over the same areas time after time after time in western Connecticut, as well as parts of Massachusetts and southern New Hampshire into Maine, and that is causing some flooding problems. Let's go ahead and show you a Doppler radar. This will show you how much rain has been falling in this area. The Doppler has that capability of estimating from the intensity of the rainfall how much it thinks has fallen. This is Connecticut I'm outlining right here, Long Island a little bit farther on to the south, Massachusetts up here to the north. What you're looking at here is western Massachusetts, and where you see the darker oranges and reds, that's upwards of 3.5, 4 inches of rain. And up here in New Hampshire, we have estimates of over 5 inches of rain, and that's why there are flood watches in effect across parts of New Hampshire into Massachusetts, as well as northern Connecticut. Then you head farther south and you get into some locally heavy storms, particularly as we head on down here into Virginia.
Right now, your local forecast.